My guest today is Samantha Lopez, who currently holds the record on this podcast for the most interesting and varied sequence of jobs leading up to software development. And this is exactly why I love having these conversations, because I think it's super important to see that not everyone has the exact same journey getting into development. So we'll see from Samantha these different roles that she's had. And the one thing that I want to encourage you to do is think about the role that she's describing as she goes through her career journey, and think about how that could be applicable in a software development environment. Because as she was talking to me, that's one of the things I picked up on, that even though she wasn't writing code, or it seemed like it was completely different from software development, there's a lot of interesting overlap in terms of the types of interactions that we have in these roles in software development. So I think that you're really going to enjoy this one. And like I said, a lot of curveballs in terms of the career progression, but I think it's super interesting. So sit back, enjoy, and I'll see you next time. Samantha, if you wouldn't mind, could you kick us off with your career journey? And you could start as early as you'd like. So if you want to go way back to when, you were a kid and you were like, I know I want to go into tech, or maybe that looked completely different for you. I think you can kind of pick as early or late as you'd like, but I think that would be awesome to start off.
All right.
No pressure.
Okay. Yeah, no pressure. Well, I hope you're in for a roller coaster. My journey into tech was not straightforward.
Okay.
I bounced around a lot. But I did know I was a tech person. Like, I was very tech savvy in my early years. I was the person that my family would kind of rope into, kid, we need your help with this. How this isn't working, for computers and stuff.
Right.
So
Microsoft isn't working, and you're like, oh,
yeah.
Why are you talking to me
Mom,
about that?
Dad, no, this is, you're doing this wrong. This is how this works.
Yeah, that's not the fax machine. This is, yeah, okay.
That was me for the longest time. And I had this old Windows 95. Y'all remember that? The 95 in my room. It didn't have internet or anything, but it was the only computer that we had for the longest time. And I would just scroll through the start menu and look at all the different menus that would pop up if you get to one of the end of the arrows.
Sure,
I just was fascinated by all the different settings, and just everything to do with computers was just super, super interesting to me. And I'm a huge nerd. I play video games, I watch anime, just being in that tech world is just my thing. But I just didn't. It wasn't it wasn't super obvious to me at the time.
Like a career kind of thing.
Yeah,
you were I like technical things, or like technology.
Stuff, but it just didn't. I didn't know how to pursue it as a career. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Also, I was homeschooled, so it was just me and my sister and my mom for the most part throughout my school years, and we didn't really have tech classes,
Okay. I've actually, by the way, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think I have to hear, because I'm very curious. I don't know if I've talked to anyone. You might be the first person I've talked to about career journeys that was homeschooled, that at least has mentioned that in the career journey. So I would be very curious if you have sort of thoughts on that, in retrospect, if you're do you feel that sort of changed your exposure to things in tech as a result of that?
I think I would say yes, because it was very sheltered,
Okay.
I would only learn about the things that my mom would, put in the curriculum for us to learn. So I feel in a public school, I only went to public school in my first, second grade, kindergarten, which those don't really count. You don't really learn anything. It's just for funsies. But we didn't have tech classes I didn't have the opportunity to even. I think we had a typing class, and that was it. That was about as techie as it got. But my parents, they know me. They knew I was a techie, and during my final year of high school, they they just they're not tech savvy people, so
Okay.
they just kind of threw this Code Academy course at me. They're
So
like, here you go.
it went from like typing as the only type of computer related tech thing going on, at least in like the school
The
setting,
school, yep.
to like, oh wait, by the way, here's this, and it's coding.
Well, I pretty much.
Wow.
I remember I accidentally stumbled upon the inspect tool.
Okay.
You know, I like accidentally hit a button on my keyboard. I mean, and now I know, but I didn't at the time. I was like, oh my god, what did I do?
Right.
And then
Yeah.
I started like scrolling through the code, just like looking at it. I was like, whoa,
What is that? Yeah.
what is that? That is so cool. Um, and then I closed it, and I didn't know how to get back to it. But that was my very first time seeing the inspect tool, which was super eye opening.
Right.
But then I saw through Code Academy, the Code Academy course that I took in high school. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what I was looking at. This like HTML. This is what the inspect tool that I saw. That I was able to make that kind of correlation,
Right.
and I really enjoyed it. I really just loved like building and
Mhm.
kind of figuring out how it worked. And I think it evolved into a little bit of CSS,
Okay.
but it didn't. I think my mom just like gave it to me as like a start on this, see where you
Sure.
end up. There was no like, you need to make it to this point. She just was like, just go for it.
And I'm assuming, like, and I don't mean for this to sound
No,
condescending
it's
about
fine.
your mother, especially, but like, it sounds like the way that you're describing the situation, like, she probably would not have known of like what the sort of destination would have looked like. It's kind of like,
No.
get started, here's something, and go in a direction.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. No, my parents were not tech savvy at all. Like they've gotten better. They can use a computer,
Sure,
but like
yeah.
coding, programming, that's like an entirely we didn't know anybody in tech, so
Mhm.
that is a completely different world to them. Uh, so all they knew was I like computers.
Right.
Like here you go, try this out. That's all it was just like here, just try this.
Right.
Um, so I knew I liked it. They knew I liked it. But at the time, I didn't really have like any way to pursue it. At the time, I didn't have my own
Okay.
computer or laptop. I didn't have anything. So they're just like, well, just try different jobs and see what you like.
Right.
It's basically how my career got started.
Well, and
Um,
that first sort of Code Academy thing that you were looking at, I guess I'm very curious. Like, when you jump into something like that, because this scenario going from like, I don't want to say quite nothing, but like, close to nothing to like, okay, now you're gonna start looking at code. Um, I guess did you understand at that point like just how vast like this could be, or was it just like, okay, like I'm starting on this direction, it's kind of neat, and like not really sure what's on the horizon?
No, I think that's another reason why I didn't know even like how to pursue it.
Right.
I mean, I
Okay.
knew there were like there was college. I knew there was I just didn't know. I just didn't know. I at the time, um, I was in the mentality of like I don't know what to do for a career,
Right.
um, and like I was unsure about whether or not to even go to college because if that that's a lot of money. Sometimes
Yep.
those things ain't cheap, um, especially for something that I wasn't sure I was going to use in the future.
Right.
So I took my parents' advice and was just like, all right, let's just jump into the workforce and see what sticks. So
What was that like in the beginning? Was it something related to like coding and tech that you were able to jump into right away, or was it kind of like, I got to start working and it's whatever whatever the job is that I can get to start?
it was not. I jumped around a lot of different jobs that had really nothing to do with tech.
Okay.
Honestly, that's why this is like it was a very roundabout way for me to get here. But in looking back, like obviously I see now, like, oh my gosh, yeah, you're totally into tech. Like, why didn't you pursue this sooner?
Right.
But at the time, I'm just out of high school. Okay, like make this life choice, this big life choice. What are you gonna do for your career? Like, I don't know.
In
Um,
hindsight, that feels like I've thought about this a lot, and it feels like I think there's some people that coincidentally or whatever they happen to know at a young age, whether that's their parents or something
mm,
maybe they discover for themselves. I feel like a lot of the time it's parents are kind of like, "Hey, it turns out like you probably like this. Like here you go in this direction," and they kind of have enough influence on the child to
yeah.
say like you are going to be a software developer, you're going to go work in finance, whatever. And so I feel like some kids are like, okay, like I kind of know what I'm doing or supposed to do because this has just been ingrained. And I feel like
Hmm.
there's a lot, like maybe most people are just like, I don't really know. And you're telling me as a kid, I'm supposed to, like, I think the framing is like, you're telling me I need to make a decision right now that's
Right
supposed
now.
to be what we're assuming is the rest of my life and my career,
Yep.
like that. And I'm not saying that is the reality, like, because you can change careers, but I feel like that's the setup that we're given. It's like, make this important decision now because
Exactly.
that's the rest of your life, and you're like, oh.
Like, okay, all right,
Yeah,
I guess.
no consequences with this, right? Like I can't.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah. So that's kind of how it was for you. You were like I have to start
I
with
have to
work. And
choose
yeah,
something now, just like this. I don't like YOLO. Essentially, I was
yeah.
all right. Let's just go for it. Um, Fortunately, my very first job, I enjoyed it, but it was like a seasonal thing.
Okay,
I worked at a theme park. It was
awesome. Okay,
I know, right? It was a lot of fun. I was a games attendant, so those people that run like game booths and you
yeah,
pay
yeah.
and they just let you toss a ball or a ring toss or something like that. That was me.
I'm
Um,
gonna have a question for you a
yes,
little bit later regarding this, by the way. So I want to
sure,
hear about. I'd love to hear about this job, and if you have other jobs before you get into software, I
oh
want
yeah,
to hear about all of them if you don't mind sharing,
of
because I
course.
already have a question about this one. I want to come back to when we start talking about when you're working in software. I
All
got one. I
right,
got one queued up here. I'm
all
not gonna
right,
forget it.
all right, cool. Well, I think I was there for a few seasons, and eventually they wanted like a supervisor
Okay.
for that department, and so I'm like, I know this department like
Right.
really good. I've been here for a while. I know everything there is to know. Like I'm supervisor material. So I was overseeing that department as a supervisor for a season,
What did
which was
that look like in comparison to when you were sort of running I'm assuming like sort of like the individual sort of game stand versus
yeah. Hmm.
now being a supervisor? Like what did that transition look like in terms of your responsibilities?
Well, I mean, there was training new people that
Okay.
new people to the department to on each game depending on where we wanted them stationed at. Also, there's like money. There's people pay to play the games, so every attendant is in charge of like their own belt of money.
Right.
And as a supervisor, you kind of have to you're handling a large amount of cash at times, just like whether it's bringing them change so that they have
Hmm.
smaller bills if they were paid with bigger bills. Um,
And are
there's
you
like
still running a not right now, sorry, but in
no,
in
no,
that
no.
role,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
are you also still running sort of your own, or are you kind of now just enabling the others to run their own?
Enabling the others, yes,
Okay.
exactly. But there's like you got a radio, you're getting calls like to go different places and just like kind of put out fires in
Right.
different areas, handle complaints or that kind of stuff. The inventory, that was the big, you're giving out plushies and stuff. Got to make sure the department has, uh, enough plushies to make it through like a big weekend.
Sure, yeah.
And yeah, that's essentially what I did as a supervisor.
Hmm.
It's been a long time, also, so
No,
like
all
trying
good.
to recalling all of these memories is like, whoa. Yeah. I know that was a lot. That was a lot of stuff I did back then. Um, uh, but after like that was a seasonal position anyway. The where I live, it's wintertime 8 months out of the year, so the theme park is
Hmm.
closed for that pretty much that time, except for, I mean, I think they do now like a October scary thing, but other than that, the theme park is
Okay.
only open for maybe 3 or 4 months. So I kind of had to figure out, okay, this isn't a sustainable role. It's fun, I love it, but it's not a career. Um, so I I did a little bit of retail. Just everybody's got to do
Okay.
retail once. That was customer service was fun, and I did that for about a year, just kind of while I was trying to figure out what my next move was.
Right.
Because I'm still in that
While it,
point where, sure, go ahead.
oh, sorry, I was just going to say, while this is happening, have you like sort of parked software, parked coding, or like looking
Yep,
into these things because that was like, hey, I tried it out, like that was neat, but like I'm just trying to go explore like what I have to go
yep,
find my career now. Like, okay,
yep. Essentially, like that's exactly where my mind was. I mean, also, it there was this part of me, like, while I was learning it, like, this is the kind of thing that, it's going to take years to truly, like, grasp, like, to
sure,
be, like, job eligible. Um, and again, I didn't know anybody in the industry. I didn't know if it was something that I would, like, enjoy. I just didn't know. I just didn't
right,
know. Um, so yeah, software engineering was just a side
yeah,
thing. Like, yeah, I just completely. Also, I didn't even have my own computer. That didn't
right,
help. I got my first, like, laptop. I think it was 2017, 2018. Yeah. So after I was a supervisor and a retail associate, I finally figured, like, okay, let's think about what I really like to do. What do I like? I was really good at math in school, and from my supervisory experience at the theme park, like, I was a pretty decent people person. I could conversate with people just at the theme park, no problem. Like, face to face, I enjoyed that, and so I kind of brainstorming, like, what kind of role would combine those two, and I thought, hey, maybe I might make a really good teller, like, at a bank.
okay,
They use computers. They kind of do some math,
yeah,
with, and they talk to people face to face every day. Like, this seems like a good career, like, start. Let's just see how I like this. To me, logically, that just made sense. So uh, I really liked it. I really liked it. I worked as a teller in um, two different companies. What I did not foresee was this, like, emphasis on sales that they had.
I wouldn't have assumed
Right?
that. Okay,
Right? So I don't know who walks into their bank and is, like, expecting their teller to try to sell them a product or, like, a loan or a credit card. That's never happened to me. It's never happened to me ever, ever.
yeah, it's, you know what? I'm trying to think through this, and I'm like, okay. And so I am originally from Canada. Our banking is a little bit different. But even so, I'm like, okay, but if I were running a bank is a business. I'm like,
Mhm.
maybe it does make sense that you make everyone who can someone who can sell. But then, so part of me is going, I don't think I actually really experienced that when I ever gone to a bank, but there were always other people that were sort of around. And so if you were kind of waiting in line and it's not like overwhelming, they might come up and chat with you and they're trying to sell.
Oh,
But if that's not happening, then I could see, yeah, maybe tellers trying to like sell you things like is a very convenient opportunity for them.
yes. That's. I did not. There was no like in like the job description, or even as I was interviewing with these companies, like there was no emphasis on sales. They didn't like
Right.
bring that up. So it was kind of like, oh, what? I'm expected to sell things. At the first company, it was more like a perk if you were able to convince somebody to uh, you know get a loan or a credit card. You got like a little like a bonus or something.
Sure.
Great incentive, awesome. At the last company I was with as a teller, it was expected, and you were like publicly, like by the in the team, you were kind of publicly like shamed if you were not if you were not like living up to their expectations, like this many sales like in a month time. And
That's like a psychological safety
it,
problem.
it was it was probably, no, that was my least favorite job. Like, major props to everybody who can do sales, because when I tried to, it just didn't feel natural. It just feels manipulative, and
Yeah.
I didn't feel good about it.
Right.
Um,
And then as a result, then you're going to be like, well, I'm not going to do that. And then, yeah, kind of this vicious cycle, I'm assuming, which doesn't
like
feel very good.
I tried. I gave it my best shot.
Mm.
um, but I got more people looking at me like, why would I want a credit card? Like, and I'm like,
I don't know, but get it.
I'm supposed to tell you about it. So I don't know, that it just was not. I mean, after trial and error, it just was not for me. That profession was not for me. So I kind of had to figure out something else. I'm running out of ideas at this point. Like, what else do I like?
Right.
Um,
By the way, I like that. I like that the framing as you're talking through this is like, what do I like? And I wanted to pause to say that because when I have people that will reach out to me and we're talking about like career direction and stuff, it's almost never what do I like. And I think that's incredibly important. It's always like, oh, there's no path here, like it's not going to make money, or it's going to, this career trajectory is going to end. And I'm like,
mhm.
why can't we focus? I know, don't get me wrong, some things that you really like may not be great for making lots of money or something, but I think that it's important that for a sustainable career, it's something that you enjoy at least.
Yes, exactly. I completely agree. And um, like growing up on I know a lot of people that just only do their jobs because that's they have to. They
Yep.
feel like they just have to. They don't enjoy it, and it just I like seeing all these other people. I'm just like, I don't. If I can find something that I truly am passionate about, and also is like a solid career choice,
Mhm.
I'm gonna go for that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Um, that was definitely my main like incentive for choosing the jobs that I did.
Right.
Was this next role. I love baking. I love cooking. I love just baking in general. Just being.
Okay.
So I just completely went in a different direction, and I was like, well, let me see if there's any professional, baking roles around. And I found one at a very high end resort, which was felt like it was a lot of pressure. You gotta be good. But I was in
I
the
have no concept of like anything involved in that, but like when you said it, I'm like, first of all, incredible.
thank
Second
you.
of all, I'm like, I'm imagining there is a lot of stress that I don't want to imagine myself doing. So as you're about to talk about this, I feel like I'm gonna get like secondhand like stress from you describing it, but I think I'm ready. So go ahead.
All right. All right. All right. All right. Um, well, like I knew nothing. Other than like home style, like
Sure.
cooking and baking. That's all I knew. I knew I enjoyed it. I didn't have any professional background whatsoever. But I think I was fortunate in the fact that they just needed help, so they they let me come on, and I got to learn I got to learn how to make a bunch of ice cream, how like super fancy ice cream and pies and cakes and cookies, and it was so much fun getting to do that. Um, the only downside was the team that they had just felt like there was a lot of animosity between them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Between the team members.
Yeah. You ever like feel like you start a new job and it feels like starting a show in the middle of like season 5 or something. Everybody else knows each other. They have history and stuff like that. Um, but you're just coming in. You don't know what's going on. You're brand stinking new. That's kind of how it felt like.
Mm.
So I didn't know why there was just like kind of this hostility. I just felt this hostility between like these different sections of the kitchen, because we had like I was on a team working mainly on like cakes and cookies, and occasionally like our orders would take some pies and stuff like that. But there's just like other sections of the kitchen that do like fancier like event stuff. Like they would make really really gorgeous desserts for like I don't know, VIP people, just events that people would pay a lot of money to go see, like corporate events even. And I just it didn't make any sense to me. Like you're all on the same team.
Hmm.
Why like there was parts where if another team, how it kind of worked was like if you use the rest of like an ingredient, you have to remake it for the next person that comes by, right?
Okay, yeah.
Like that makes total sense. Like that's just how make things.
Yeah, it's going to be needed. So like instead of screwing over the next person, it's like everyone is going to need this at some point. So just make sure that it's there.
Exactly. And like a big thing that everybody would use it'd be like mascarpone or some kind of filling. Everybody used it, or like mousse. But it would take a lot of time to recreate a giant batch. And like I was told going into it, like that's what we were supposed to do. We were supposed to recreate the next batch for the next person that used it. And then lo and behold, when I'm working on the job, and the person who's teaching me is like, no, we don't do that. We're just gonna leave it. I was just kind of like, what? But it just didn't make any sense. I don't know.
It's really interesting. Like as you're talking about these different, remember when I said I have a question for later? I'm still not going to ask it yet, but there's another, like there's one right now even. So spoiler alert, there's a lot of things that you're talking about that I think on the surface, if some like anyone's watching or listening, they're like, okay, well this isn't related to software development because we haven't gotten to that part yet.
Nope.
But everything you're talking about has incredible parallels to working in software development teams. And the one that you're talking about right now has nothing to do with coding, but everything to do about working in a organization where teams are not necessarily supporting each other, even though realistically everyone has the same common goal, which is to deliver value to customers.
Mhm.
So it's very interesting. You're not talking right now about coding products or shipping products or having live services running, but this type of thing where you have different teams and they're not really supporting each other and there's some animosity and it's kind of like screw it, every man or every person for themselves, like
Yeah.
that happens in software teams as well, not only across teams where you have inter-team challenges, but like you can also have this issue like with individuals on teams. So the thing that you're describing, and I can tell, like, as you're talking about it, you can see the frustration where you're like, I just like this. It feels so like bad. It feels so silly. This literally happens with software teams, and I know that feeling because I can see it on you as you're talking about it, where it's like, I just don't understand why people are doing this, and they do it in software as well. So I
I
just
totally,
wanted to stop to say that part because it's really interesting as you're talking through these.
yeah. I mean, I've worked on teams pretty much in every single role. Like as a supervisor, I had a team of game attendants. You know, I mean, in retail, you know, we had a team of, we're all working together towards this one thing, and to jump into this job and just have everybody so like kind of just doing their own thing, it was just didn't like, I could see like productions like suffering
Yeah.
because of people not wanting to work together. It was I don't know. It was because of that I ended up leaving it. I really enjoyed, you know, baking and you know, making cute little cookies and cakes and stuff.
I couldn't do that job not only from the stress because I would eat everything. Like
Oh
there
yes,
would
that was a bonus. If we were making something new, we got to sample it. So
Okay, yeah.
that
Put me
was,
on that team where we make the new things because that's all I'm doing.
but yeah, it was really just because of that kind of like that toxic team environment. I
Right.
just kind of had to move on, and that was kind of my last hurrah. Like uh, I knew I liked math and being a people person and baking, and like what else is there to me? What else is there that I would like to do? And I was just fresh out of ideas at that point. I was really just like kind of, where do I go? So I
Sure.
did something completely out of the box. I just like, well,
The baking was out of the box. You got one more that's out of the box? Okay.
yeah, yeah, yep. I got more. This is a roller coaster ride. um, I chose this job because it was something I had no idea if I was going to be good at it or not.
Okay.
Um, I decided to apply to be an assembler at a knife factory.
Okay. So this is completely different. You're right. Okay.
Completely different. And I didn't know anything about working in a factory. I didn't really know anything about knives, but like, hey, I can build things. I'm really good at building things. And so this job is actually where like the game kind of changed for me. Everything, I started realizing this is the moment.
Okay.
This is the pivotal moment right here where I remembered like how much I enjoyed software, which is surprising because as an assembler, like that's what. I really enjoyed the job. Like all it was. It was you know, you had to deal with a lot of like small parts and screws and stuff. You're essentially building this knife from scratch. Like hunting
Okay.
knives is where is the kind of knives that I was usually building on again this team of people. We're all just in a line, like doing our own part of building this knife and passing it down the line.
Mhm.
Um, I really enjoyed that. But about a month or two into like being at this new role, they installed a CNC machine in our area.
Okay. I'm
You
predicting
know
the
what that
future. Keep
is?
going. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Keep going.
You know what a CNC machine is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I like to describe it as like an industrial size, like 3D printer, except you're just cutting out parts from
Yeah.
like material, you know?
Yeah.
That was
The
my
inverse of a printer, but the
yes,
same
yes,
idea. You put stuff in, you get stuff out. Yeah. But
exactly. And I'm pretty sure like it what is it? Those printers, they run on G code or something like that, right? They'd have some sort of, I've seen some machines that run on G code, and that was my very first exposure to G code program.
I do not know like the language or anything.
Oh,
So just for the record, I
got
know
it.
what a CNC machine is. I
Uh-huh.
have seen one running.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes. Um, again, no knowledge of, I didn't know what a CNC machine was back then. I don't know. I'm a new girl, month and a half into her new job, building knives. And I think they did this as this is how it came across, in my opinion. Okay. It felt like a little, like a hazing, like, hey, let's try and teach the new girl how to run the CNC machine. They didn't, it was brand new to them too, but they're just like, let's see what she does.
Okay.
Because they already had like a guy cutting out blades for them, who had been doing it for years. He'd been doing it on another machine, but they specifically wanted to start using the CNC machine to kind of speed up the process.
Okay.
And they trained this older guy, and they trained me. And out of the two of us, I was way better at it.
And you thought this was like, at this point when you're going through this training for it, you're still kind of feeling like it's like a hazing type of thing where they're.
I'm like they told me about it. They're like, hey, would you want to try to learn this CNC machine? I don't know what that is, but sure, yes, let's toss me on there. I am cool. Super open to it. Let's do it. Also because a part of me is like, I know they're trying to like intimidate or scare me. Like, I want to prove them wrong. I want to be so good at this. So, I was basically their CNC person. I went from a knife assembler to their main CNC person. I was like overseeing like the new programs and stuff, and that they would implement for new blades and everything. And I learned like how to kind of read through the G code, and I would like edit it if I knew something needed to be changed. Mm-hmm. And like the guy that had taught me, I'd spent like maybe a few hours with him initially. He was just showing me the ropes of how to run the CNC machine. And eventually like he started to realize like how much I really liked like the G code, and like I really liked looking at that and kind of messing with it and figuring out how it kind of worked. And so he took me back to they have like a completely different area where there's a bunch of computers, and that's where they create these and test the new programs and stuff.
Okay.
And they just kind of let me hang out and watch like the process, and it was super, super interesting and amazing. And like as he's walking me back, and he just told me, he's like I could tell like your eyes just like light up when you look at the code. Like I can totally tell like that's something that you should probably like look into. If you like that, like I highly encourage you to look for some kind of a career in tech. That's
interesting.
He realized it like before I was like, yes, this is something that I wanted to pursue. So it's all kind of thanks to him, where I was like, hey, yeah, wait a minute, I do like tech. I like this stuff. Yeah. What was that thing? What was that course I took back in high school again? I wonder how I could get back into that. That's essentially how this kind of started. And I just eventually kind of circled back to kind of web development and software engineering and stuff. So like on the side for a while, I was trying to figure out, where, if I was to like learn more about this, where do I even start? Like technology has advanced so much more, than when I was in high school.
In this conversation, it's already advanced a lot. Yeah. So yeah.
5 minutes ago, it was completely different. So, I had no idea where to start, but I tried to like figure out, I looked at some HTML stuff that I could recall from that class. I remembered Codecademy. I tried to look at some courses on there and see if if it really was something that like I was like the intuition was right. Like this is a path that I really want to follow. And I had my own laptop at that time, so I could
Nice. Yep.
finally I could finally look at
No more excuses, right? Yeah.
no more excuses. Exactly. Uh, let's see. And then I knew as soon as I started looking back into it, I'm like, yeah, this feels right. This is I enjoy it, and like not only do I enjoy it, I actually see like career opportunities, that I just didn't understand when I was back in high school. I just didn't know about.
Right.
So I eventually had to leave the knife factory, but I had this time now to kind of pursue this. And I was like, again, there's so much to software. There's so much to technology. There's so many languages and frameworks now. Like, where do I start? So I was on the lookout for some sort of structured way
Right.
to kind of progress. Like how do I get to like job worthy, if that,
This is such a common thing, where people are like, okay, like even for the people that are like, I'm going to be a programmer, like they know it early, right? There's a lot of people that are like,
Mhm.
gonna go to college and I'm doing my computer science degree, I'm doing something related to technology, and then they're like, I don't like where do I even go here? Because there's so much that so that when you brought up like something guided, right? Like that, I think a lot of people are looking for that because they're like,
Mhm.
you know, I want the most efficient way to get me from wherever I am now to, like you said, I want to make sure that I can get a job. What's
Yes.
what's that path? Other people have done this, right? And they're kind of looking around being like, there's a million paths here. Like where do I start? So
Exactly.
guided approach.
Exactly. I really had no idea where to even like look for some kind of like I'd seen boot camps and stuff like
Hmm.
that. There are a lot of paid ones,
Hmm.
which I would have been okay with paying them, but I also wanted to make sure that I was like it was going to be a beneficial experience. I knew like at the end of this course, like, am I going to feel like I'm ready? If that
Right.
makes any sense.
Yep.
Um, um, I tried to do I dabbled around a little bit with those, but eventually I stumbled across 100 devs.
Okay.
And yeah, you've heard of them, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I think I found them through like some kind of a YouTube short, and initially I'm just like, okay, let's see what these guys are about,
Hmm.
and we'll just go from there. And I went through the first couple of classes and I did like the homework and stuff. I finally got like the gist that, okay, this is a legit thing, and I could see like, they've got the classes all laid out to where you're gonna end up by the end of it. Um,
How did you find doing the homework? Sorry to, I'm
no, you're
curious
good.
about this because homework is a word that bothers me right now, because I remember I have flashbacks of like having to do homework and being like, I don't want to do things that people tell me. So I'm
Yeah.
curious, was this something where you were like, it was just so interesting to you that you were like, hell yeah, I want to do it? Or was this like you're kind of looking at it like, I know I need to do this, so I'm just gonna get it done? Like what was kind of going through your mind when you're like, got homework, like you're either gonna do it or not, right? So like what was your incentive to like to get it done?
I mean, I it was interesting enough to me where it didn't feel, at least like the first like initial classes,
Sure.
they start you out with HTML and CSS, and it's very gradual, which is like, it's like perfect, and it was visual, which is kind of how I learn.
Hmm.
um so doing the homework was it didn't feel like oh man, like I got ugh, like,
You're
It,
kind of like, this is kind of neat. Like, I get to learn about this. Like, I'm pretty
yeah,
curious. Okay.
like once I got it started, I remember one of the biggest like homework assignments that they ask you to do is to go through this Shay How course, um, and essentially it walks you through very basic like HTML, how like the structure of
Hmm.
HTML and different tags and some CSS and stuff. Um, that was a long homework assignment, and I had to space it out because it took a couple days to get through. But every single time I did it, it was like this is cool. Like I felt like it was exciting. It was
Okay.
really it was I was looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's a lot, but you were getting
It's a
excited
lot.
by doing it, though. Okay.
Yes, exactly. I mean, the homework later on you got much more difficult, but it was still really it didn't like deter me. It wasn't like like oh man, I gotta do this and this and ugh. It wasn't like a bore or a chore or anything like that. I
Okay.
was
Yeah.
looking forward to it. um I did have to kind of I was on a schedule. Like, um I knew I could take about a year to kind of pursue this. And like the way that Leon structures his classes, there's probably like 50, 60 classes that you can go through plus homework that, they assign to you. And then, eventually you kind of just um, have to do like the homework turns into like different stuff, just like on
Sure.
GitHub and stuff. But I knew if I dedicated a whole year to this, I could do a class a week and
Hmm.
be finished by the end of the year. I could learn be a full stack web developer by the end of the year. And so that's essentially what I did. I started with a class at the beginning of the week, and then set time aside for like homework and stuff. And then if I didn't understand anything, I would try to make sure I had the time to either go back and review it or look up more stuff like about it so I could just
Right.
fully grasp exactly what he was teaching.
How much time would you say? And I'm not looking for like, like give me the stopwatch readout. But if you had to estimate how much time on average you were spending a week for the year, right? So you set this
Mm-hmm.
goal of like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to spend a year on this because that's a time horizon that you're like, I can do this. On average, like what would you say like a week look like for your time commitment into this?
Well, let's see.
Or did it vary like a lot? Like I actually don't know. I'm only
No,
the
you're
reason I'm asking this is so that I I really liked that you said a year time horizon, right? You're like, I'm gonna dedicate myself to this
go.
for 1 year because the other side of this that I hear probably too often is like, I got a couple weeks. Like, what can I do in a couple weeks to get me to I'm going to be a professional developer? And I'm like, I don't know how to tell you this. Before my
That's not how
first
it works.
job, I was coding for like 10 years, like before I got my first job. So I don't know what you're planning to do in a couple weeks. Like, so you're
Mm-mm.
saying 1 year is a target, which means you probably went through this thought exercise of like, how much time am I going to spend on this per week? So I'm just curious, like, what that looked like for you.
Well, I mean, it would definitely depend on like the class that I was
Sure.
on, because obviously the earlier classes they're more beginner friendly,
Mhm.
with just HTML and CSS stuff. Um, it was hard. It was much easier to knock those things out,
Mhm.
until you got farther in the course where you're learning. Gosh, I don't know, uh, objects in JavaScript and like how those work. Oh man, the first class I watched when Leon was introducing JavaScript, I that was probably the one time I was like, oh no, I
Right.
don't know
Yeah.
if I can do this. This
Yeah. Wait, what am I
this is
doing now?
what.
Like, oh, maybe it's not for me. Yeah.
Well, I did. I was like, this. I just like that self doubt was just like, can I? Is this? Am I sure this is what this?
Right.
Yeah. But Leon does such a great job, and motivating. Even in his like pre-recorded videos. He just knows, like, this is where people are going to struggle, and maybe
Mhm.
this like extra bit of motivation, like, this, just get through this. This is what you need to do. And honestly, if it wasn't for like those like get these done, just keep pushing. Like, I don't know if it was my mind probably would have like won out and be like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know if I
guess
can do
it's not for me, right? Like, I tried, and
this.
okay, but what's next, right? Like, I guess
Exactly.
that's the end of the road. Yeah. Okay.
um, but I was very determined. I knew that I enjoyed this career path, so I was not about to give up on it that easily. And after a while, it turns out he was right. Shocker. um, JavaScript became much more not easy, but I
Sure.
could understand how it worked, and that was just like this. There's just this like a mental block to kind of get past that, to figuring out how JavaScript worked. But now JavaScript and I, we're friends. We're good friends now. Um, it was just a rough road getting there.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
um, and I guess, like, let me see, 100 devs is pretty much uh, where I am at the moment. I take freelance clients when I can now, thanks to his courses. But I'm looking for like a full-time role, and
Well,
yeah.
talk to me about the freelancing part. So I think that this is like a fascinating thing that I don't think a lot of people realize. So what I like to say, because I've been in software development for a good few years now,
Uh-huh.
um, and I've been programming for a long time, but if someone said freelancing, I would say, look, that story you were telling about selling and like being a teller and like I have to sell things, guess who can't do that very well? Right. So when it comes to like freelancing and that kind of thing, I like to tell people that do it and they're like, hey, I'm still looking for my first job or I'm trying to switch roles and I want to get a full-time job. I'm like, by the way, that thing that you're doing, I cannot do it at all. And
It's
I gotta stop
not
saying I
hard.
can't. I feel like maybe, but like I'm not good at it, that's for sure. So I just wanted to say that I think it's really awesome that you can do it. That's great.
Thank
So
you.
how, like, what does that look like for you? Like in terms of like getting clients, like what type of work are you doing or hoping to do?
Well, I I followed up on a lot of like how Leon kind of explains the way that he's found, like, is the most, I don't want to say the best, but
Sure.
it's a method that works. It's just like going on Google, searching for places that, like, local places that may or may not have a website. Is it a good website? Just like dial for dollars, kind of.
But see, like that's incredible because like what you just described is like that's not a high tech fancy answer to doing it. But the way you described it, you're like, it's not the best. Like I don't know what the best is, but that is a way that absolutely works, right? It
Yeah.
absolutely will lead to some results. Is every phone call you make going to be a success? No. But that's
No.
also the reason why I am scared to death to do it, because if
Yeah.
I had to go call someone, first of all, calling people, I don't even know how to do that now. Second of all, like now I'm going to be that person who feels like when you were saying as a teller, I have to try and sell things. I have to call
Mhm.
this person and try to tell them that I have something that they should pay money for. I'm like, no, it's done before I even pick up the phone, right? So um, again, that's incredible. That's a whole set of skills that takes work, that takes time and investment, and you have to keep doing it. It needs reps. I don't put the reps into that, so I'm terrible at it. Um, but yeah, so that's really cool. So you end up looking for like local businesses, reaching out to them and saying like, "Hey, do you need a site built?"
Yes, I mean, I'm fortunate in that my location has like a lot of like mom and pop shops.
Okay,
It's not a big city, so there's much more. There's just a lot more small to medium sized businesses to where I live, and it's very obvious if somebody needs a website, I've seen some pretty horrendous sites, but like, you can't tell them that.
Sure.
um, yeah, I had this lady who wanted to start a photography business.
Okay.
I guess she'd had some experience. She had gotten paid before, and that was like one of my very first actual projects with a client. Yeah, I got to build her like a little portfolio that she could show off to her clients, and get more clients. I think
Right. Yeah.
we're gonna update it with some new photos, I think, sometime
Cool.
eventually.
But this is, I mean, like that's part, like how you just described. That's the selling thing, right? It's really like, hey, look, I'm not just trying to take your money. Like, you're trying to have a business be
Yeah,
successful. That means
that
you need to be able to pull in clients. You need somewhere to direct them, and so like you're in this position where you can tell them, let me make this for you so that I can help you, right? And then
exactly. Yeah.
awesome.
I was actually surprised when I started like scouring Google Maps, and just I was really surprised by how many businesses didn't have a website.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's like business 101. You want to have some kind of a central place for people to go to check out what you do, and learn more about it. It seems obvious to me, but there's just more opportunities to reach out to them, I guess.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of places, especially with older generations, where they have started
Yeah.
businesses, they've been running businesses, and they're like, it's just worked this way for forever. We've
Yep.
been around for forever, so we've seen success this way without having to have a website.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
but the
true.
reality is, it's kind of limiting. So I think that's super cool that you're able to do that. I want to come back to this question that I said that I had near the beginning. So now that you've described this interaction, or where how you're able to kind of work for freelancing, and trying to work with customers, the one thing that you were talking about in your role, sort of operating, you call them game booths? Is that what you were doing? Is that
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
okay?
yeah.
So, or the game stands, game booths. So when you were doing this, you had to talk with people all day. Is that
All
fair
of
to
it.
say?
For
Okay.
I mean, obviously days are busier than others, but for the most part, if somebody comes up to the booth, yeah, you want to interact with them. You want that interaction to be a pleasant one so that they come back. So
Yeah,
yes.
and you enjoyed that part, right? Like those interactions, like
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So the thing that I was curious about is, like, I think that a lot of people go into programming. A lot of people have this idea being like, if I go into this role, it's going to be awesome because I don't have to work with people.
You don't have to talk to anybody. You can just be facing the computer
Yeah,
screen and
I
just
I
live
put
my life.
my coding goggles on, and
Yeah,
it's just me and the keyboard, and I am coding. But the reality is that is not true at all.
yeah.
And so I was really curious if you found that, whether it was from that job experience or any of the other ones where you were working with other people, working in teams, or just really having to, converse with other people, if you found that that was a helpful skill set to have now when you're trying to talk with potential clients, or like working back and forth and trying to build out the things they're asking for.
Yeah, I think being like social has always been kind of difficult for me in general,
Sure.
just because I grew up a homeschooler. I didn't talk to I didn't I lived in like a super remote area. There's not couldn't hang out with like neighbors and stuff. So talking to new people was just kind of different and scary for the longest time. It was a journey all in itself, just getting
Sure.
to the point where I can talk to a person online, just have a conversation. Um, Me 10 years ago, this would have been like terrifying, absolutely terrifying. Um, but like I think it depends on the job as well, because
Okay.
there would be some jobs like the as a supervisor at a theme park. I enjoyed it, and like the people there, we were all a team. We were all kind of like I hesitate to use the word family, but we all it was that kind of like mindset. We were
Yeah.
all on the same side. um, it was much easier to, to talk to people. But like in roles where, as like a teller, it just was nobody tried to talk to me. It just felt like even if I tried to conversate with somebody,
They're
it,
not
it,
really having
it
it.
felt like I was kind of, yeah, like I was kind of like kind of like an outcast. I was
Okay.
really nerdy, and I don't think that's like the environment that nerds hang out in. um, it was just really hard for me to connect with people, especially because I was also kind of labeled as this person who just cannot sell. You know, it
Yeah,
was
that certainly doesn't, like, I'm sure your outlook on trying to be able to converse with people, like, that was not helping anything, right? Like, that's why I mentioned the psychological safety thing, because um for folks that are working in teams, or they're, they might, maybe they're in an internship, or they're new to a team, or they're junior, and they're put into these environments, like, if you have an environment where there isn't psychological safety, and you're like, I can't even ask questions because people make me feel like I'm an
Mhm.
idiot,
Yep.
um you're like, you will not grow, you will be stagnant, you're going to probably hate showing up. And
Yep.
then the problem is that if you think that that's normal, then you're like, I guess I'm screwed and this is what I have to do. And some people just kind of stick around in that because they think that that is normal. It's not supposed to be normal. I don't have stats to say whether or not that's statistically normal,
It
but
shouldn't
it's
be
not
normal.
right. It's not right. So,
Yeah.
for anyone listening or watching, if you're finding yourself in an environment like that, it's not normal. And there's lots of different things you can do, one of which is unfortunately to leave. But, I think that there's directions you can kind of push in to try changing that. But it's not. It's not simple. And unfortunately, if you have people in sort of leadership, over the team, or your manager, that kind of thing, if they're sort of the one that's driving that, that can make it really challenging. But it's not normal. So yeah, the whole industry is not supposed to be like that.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm sorry to hear that you had to go through something like that. Even outside of software development, but that's really, really crappy. But yeah, I guess I was really curious about that, because I I often say to people that in software development, of course, we have all these technical skills. There's, languages we
Mhm.
have to, like, programming languages we have to learn, tech stacks, all this stuff going on. And at the end of the day, those are all things that I feel like you spend time on them, you will learn them.
Yeah.
They take time, but the peopling part is, I think, something that a lot of people ignore, and I try to remind them, like, you will likely be working in teams. If some people go their whole career and they're not working directly with customers, but other people, like in your case, you're talking directly to customers and potential customers. Being able to people effectively is incredibly important. So I just like reminding people, like, don't ignore, like, what we call soft skills, because
Uh-huh.
they will help.
Very important. Yes.
Awesome. So, and then I guess to wrap up, I was curious. So, for the stuff that you're doing at 100 devs, like, how has that evolved for you in the time that you've been there now, in terms of, like, the material and stuff that you're kind of going through?
Oh, evolved as
I
in
guess, yeah, I guess I'm curious. Like, I know obviously in the very beginning, it's going to be, like you were saying, like, very simple. In terms of this, because I have your LinkedIn pulled up on the side, so I was trying to get like a time horizon. But
uh-huh.
for 100 devs, it says a couple years now that
Yep.
you've been doing that. So,
Mhm.
the in terms of, like, the complexity, or the different types of things that you're getting to see, can you elaborate on some of the, I don't know, like, again, I'm just reading a couple things off, like, I see React, I see Tailwind, I see, like, how has that looked for you? Are you building stuff with, like, other people? Is it solo stuff that you're doing on the side to go learn? Like, I'm just kind of curious what that looks like in general.
At the moment, I mean, I've been doing just like solo stuff. Um, so I finished the cohort last year.
Okay.
That's when I had my strict regimen to a class a week and then homework afterwards.
And
Uh,
you did it, right? You
I did it.
you
I
That's
went through the
awesome.
whole thing and I stuck to my, I had like 1 or 2 sick weeks where I was like, I cannot. I just, my head hurts. I need
You're
to take,
human. It's allowed. Yeah, that's
it
fine.
happens, you gotta give yourself some grace. Um, but that was last year, and I finished like they have this 100-hour project, which is like this big thing that they encourage you to work on near closer to the end of the cohort. And so I still had to kind of start and finish it. I took a lot of time to really think about what I wanted to build, and
Okay.
to me, um, it was important to to kind of build this like vision board out, because as someone who really struggled to figure out what I wanted to do for years, so many years, just like trying different things, and I'm super grateful for the experience. Like I know what I like, I know what I've gotten to where I am because of all of that. um but like I really wanted my like big project at the end of this cohort to be something that other people can kind of like use to help figure out what they want to do for themselves. And I found that doing like a visual manifestation,
Mm,
that helped me a lot to kind of figure out what goals I need to be setting for, to eventually get to where I want to be, if
right.
that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was my big final project, and I worked on it earlier this year, I think. And then the rest of like this year has been doing a lot of like coffee chats like this, and
Mm.
kind of practicing my social skills. um, because I had been doing technical stuff for a whole year. I was finally trying to jump into like the people part of the tech industry.
Right. Well,
And
and
so
so I wanted to mention too, because it's I should say I'm extremely introverted. So as you're talking
yeah,
about like
me too.
social interactions and stuff, I should have mentioned earlier. But by the way, like I'm super introverted. For
Me
me
too.
to go on camera to do like YouTube videos and stuff like that, kind of I have to turn on like some type of extrovert side of
Yep,
me.
yep,
Same thing when I'm managing teams. Like if I get into one-on-ones with people, which love the teams I work with, but it's a lot of energy for me because
yep.
I'm introverted. But I have to find ways to turn that on. Um, but I had reached out to you because you were at Commit Your Code this year, right? So
I
I was
was.
going to say, like the fact that you're talking about, trying to be more social and try to engage and stuff like that. You were at a conference that was for tech. That's awesome.
It was the biggest conference I've ever been to. Like, there's not a whole lot of big meetups like that where I live. Maybe like there's probably 10 people at a meetup if I was to go to somewhere, if I was to drive an hour into a city and find one.
Yeah.
But to go from that to 800 plus people at a conference, it was just, that was
And
whoa.
how did you find it? Would you recommend doing that sort of
I
thing for to other people? Okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, first of all, I finally had the chance to meet with people that I'd known from coffee chats, like you doing them online from earlier that year. And so meeting people that I've seen online in person, it was just kind of surreal, and it was absolutely amazing getting to hang out with them and meet a lot of new developers who, they didn't know me. I'm just
Mhm.
this I'm just this little blonde girl from Idaho. Like, where did I come from? So a lot of new people, uh, I got to meet, which was just super super fun.
Awesome.
I think it was an amazing experience. I really, if Danny does decide to do another one next year, I think it would be amazing to go.
Awesome. And no, I appreciate that because I had a couple of people that had reached out before that conference and they were asking questions like, "Hey, like I don't know, like is it not necessarily specifically for that one. There was a couple people that reached out specifically for it, but they were saying like is it actually worth it for me to do something like this? Like to go in person, like I don't really know how to network. I don't know what to do when I go. I'm like, I get it because like I'm so introverted that like when I show up, I'm kind of like, well, I'm here. Like, where's the corner for me to go hide in? Um, but I'm glad that, it's on camera, it's recorded, you're saying like, hey, like I'm trying to be more social and I had to, I went to this event and it was
Mhm.
really good and you would recommend it. um, that's awesome. So I kind of, that's great evidence that we can use for other people to say, hey, look, if you're trying to do this type of thing, like go to these types of events.
Yes, yes. I mean, I've never been to another conference that big, but like this one is so welcoming and just friend. Everybody there is just super chill. And like, if it was your very first conference, I highly recommend just going as your first. If you like, that was my first one, so
Yeah,
I
that's
totally
awesome.
recommend it.
No, that's super cool. And so thank you for sharing that. And Samantha, thank you for sharing all of your career journey so far. I think that's super cool. I love doing these types of chats because I think that it's really important for people to see that like I have some people that come on and they're like, "Hey, look, I was born with a keyboard in my hands and like I know I'm going to be a programmer. I don't know what I'm going to build yet, but I'm going to be programming stuff." And other people that are like, I didn't even care about computers or anything until I was like 30, until I was 40. Like like
Hmm. Hmm.
there's so many different paths, and I think that a lot of the time we see one, whatever's in the media, whatever's kind of the thing that's propagated is like we see that path, and some people are like, I don't know if that's for me, so does that mean I'm not cut out for tech? And the
Hmm.
answer is like that has nothing to do with it. So I wanted to say thank you again for sharing all of that. I think that's awesome. I think there's a
Thank
lot
you.
for people to take away from that. And I guess the final thing that I'd love to ask of you is if people wanted to reach out to you, like where can people find you?
Oh, geez. I mean, I'm on LinkedIn, Samantha Lopez on LinkedIn. I do not have much social media. I don't have an Instagram. I don't have a Facebook. I don't have a Twitter, which makes networking a little more difficult.
Yeah, you got
But
to get on that. Yeah.
I know, part of me is like, I like the peace and quiet. I don't
I
need a
don't
social
I
media.
don't blame you. As a
Yeah,
content creator, I'm like I want to turn it all
you
off. Yeah.
get it. You totally get it. Yeah. But LinkedIn, for sure. If you want to follow me on GitHub as well, never hurts to have a follower on there.
I will get I'll find it after I have your LinkedIn and I will get your GitHub and I'll put them in the description and stuff so people can check that out.
Oh,
And
thank
do
you.
you have your own website as well?
Like a portfolio?
Yeah, like if people
Yes,
wanted to reach out to you to
sure.
have a website built.
Yes, I do. There's I think it's just Samantha Lopez Dev.netlify.app. The
Okay.
links in like my you can find it everywhere. It's on my LinkedIn. It's in my
Oh, okay,
GitHub.
cool.
So you could there. It's there.
I'll
It's there.
get it. That's perfect. That's awesome. Because I wanted to make sure if people are watching this and they're like, "Hey, well, I
Yes.
need a website built. Let's
Tell me
get the
about
link." So
that. Hit me up.
I will absolutely add that. So, Samantha, thanks again. Maybe one
So much.
final question. I'm going to put you on the spot. Any parting words of wisdom that you want to give to all of the other aspiring developers? If
Um,
you don't have anything, that's
I,
cool
I,
too.
d- I actually do. I'm a big gamer, so one of the games that I was playing in my early years was Final Fantasy X,
Okay.
and um, one of the characters in there, he's his name is Kamari Ronso, and he's a man of few words. But one of his lines that I've kept with me throughout the years is "Only those who try will become." So I've been carrying that line with me for this entire journey of like learning things. This constant like cycle of there's just always something new to learn. Only those who try are gonna become. You know, if you just give up, like you're obviously you're never gonna reach to where you want to go. You always have to try, no matter like try.
That's awesome. I don't know what I was expecting, but that is I think that definitely beats the expectation I had for parting words of wisdom. I love
Oh,
that. That's great.
thank you.
Um, Again, thank you so much. I will add the links in, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nick.
Of course.